Hi everybody, I'm Mr. A, and I've been a professional educator since I graduated the University of Michigan School of Education in 1986. Standardized college placement tests, or college entrance exams, have been an important piece of the college application puzzle since even before I graduated high school. Colleges and universities use standardized test scores as a significant criterion for decisions on both admission and merit scholarships. Standardized testing remains one of the surest measures of academic aptitude that colleges and universities have at their disposal to measure prospective students. Although some higher education institutions have moved away from these standardized tests, the truth be told, one of the main reasons that some of these colleges have done so is to avoid the appearance of lowering their standards by lowering admission scores in order to compete for more students. So if you're hoping for standardized tests to just go away, don't hold your breath. The truth is, the PSAT, SAT, ACT, SAT-2 subject tests, and AP exams are outstanding tools that colleges and universities trust and use to make determinations about applications from students from all over the world, as well as to make decisions about merit scholarship monies. Well, let's be honest, some students just are not very good test takers. And if they don't do very well on these exams, that does not mean that they're not smart and that they won't have success in college. So don't ever take it that way. However, if students do well on these exams, you could be very sure that they have the scholastic aptitude to succeed at the college and university level. You see, at different high schools in different parts of the country, or in different parts of the state, there are likely different standards for what an A or a B or a C might mean as a grade on a subject course. And not only that, there are often different standards within an individual school from teacher to teacher as far as what a particular grade on the report card might mean. Students who are congenial by nature tend to get better grades, and students who have personality conflicts with their teachers tend to get lower grades. Right or wrong, it's human nature. So grades cannot be the only criterion that colleges and universities look at. And while neither can standardized tests be the only criterion, they help level the academic playing field. Since these standardized tests are pretty much a permanent part of the education landscape, let's get down to business and discuss a comprehensive strategy that will help you maximize your scores on these exams, which will then help you maximize your opportunities to get into the college of your choice and pay as little as possible. Let me share with you what we call the straight A method. But before I get started with the straight A method, let's first quickly examine the exams in question: the PSAT, the SAT, and the ACT. The PSAT is perhaps the most overlooked of these exams, and it can be perhaps the most important for some students in terms of qualifying for National Merit Scholarship, which could mean a full ride to most universities in this country. The PSAT, or Practice SAT as most people know it, is offered in October of a student's sophomore or junior year. Now, this test is directly connected to National Merit Scholarship qualification. And as I mentioned, most students and parents do not realize just how important this test can be for a student's future. I know this to be true because I have two of my own sons who have qualified for National Merit Scholarships, and honestly, I don't know how I would have paid for their college otherwise. Guidance counselors will usually remind students to take the PSAT in their sophomore or junior year, but that's about the extent of it. I've taught at some top flight high schools in Texas, New England, and Michigan, and I can tell you from experience that most students go into this test entirely unprepared. Since they think that it's simply a practice test for the SAT, most students don't take it very seriously at all. Well, the straight A method takes into account the importance of the PSAT and will help you be prepared when that time comes. I want my students to be as prepared as possible. And remember, based on these PSAT scores, many colleges and universities will begin their recruiting process. This test requires test-taking strategy along with academic ability, and students who go in unprepared for this test greatly reduce their chances of qualifying for National Merit Scholarship. Furthermore, most people are not aware that regardless of how well you do on this test in your sophomore year, you cannot qualify for the National Merit Scholarship. Only in your junior year will your scores count towards this great distinction. Which begs the question, why bother taking the PSAT in your sophomore year at all? Truth is, I don't discourage my students from taking it as a sophomore. I think it's good experience and good practice, but at the end of the day, it becomes irrelevant. Given the potential gravity of this test, the straight A method will train students for the SAT first, and then the PSAT will seem like a breeze after the fact. That's right, I coach my students to take the full-blown SAT in their 10th grade year, followed by the SAT again in the fall of their junior year, then followed by the PSAT, in which they will maximize their opportunity to qualify for National Merit Scholarship status. So let's now talk then about the SAT. The same test-taking techniques apply to both the PSAT and the SAT. You see, the PSAT really is designed to mirror the SAT. The difference is the SAT is significantly longer, and you're allowed to take the SAT multiple times and keep your best scores, no matter whether it was from the math or the verbal sections. This is known as superscoring. With a superscore, can you see how the SAT becomes its own practice test? So we need to break that false paradigm that says that the PSAT is the practice for the SAT. No, the SAT is its own practice test. And if my students are prepared to take the big SAT test, when they go to take the PSAT, they're going to be much more prepared. I coach my students to take the SAT for the first time in the spring of their sophomore year. So that would be March, May, or June. Then I want them to take it a second time in October of their junior year. Now, hopefully at this point, we are finished with the process and the students have achieved the level of scores that we know that they can achieve. However, if we examine and we know that they can do better, I might recommend that students consider taking the test again during their junior year and as late as their senior year. It's never too late if you know that you can continue to improve your score. So this might sound like a lot, but keep in mind that West Point Academy, one of the toughest universities to get to and to be admitted to in the country, they recommend that students take the SAT first time 7th grade year and every year thereafter. Now that might seem a little militant, but Johns Hopkins, their Gifted and Talented Youth Program, have students taking the SAT in their 8th grade year. So the straight A method is focused on getting students into the college of their choice and achieving the highest scores possible on the SAT, ACT, and PSAT. So it's a comprehensive approach that I'm going to lay out for you very clearly in just a moment. But first, let me touch on the ACT. The ACT, or American College Test, is very similar to the new SAT. It differs a little in that it offers also a science section. Now that science section really is reading comprehension within a science context. There will be graphs and charts and lab reports, everything that has to do with science, most of it that students have not had in high school, because it's really reading comprehension. In other words, all of the answers to the questions can be found within the reading, which again, the reading is graphs and charts and data and statistics. And so this science section, some kids get terrified by. One of my students was scared to death. I encouraged him, telling him, look, you're a very strong reader. You're going to do well in this section. And it turns out that the science section was his highest score of all of the sections: math, reading, English, and science. Keep in mind also that the ACT can be taken multiple times like the SAT and superscore. Let me also briefly touch on a fact that many people don't realize or consider, and that is that most colleges and universities require either the SAT and 1, 2, or 3 SAT-2 subject tests, or the ACT alone. So in this regard, the ACT actually offers an advantage over the SAT in that most colleges and universities will take it by itself instead of having to take the SAT along with subject tests. That being said, there are many reasons why you might want to take the SAT-2 subject tests that could be beneficial in terms of receiving college credit before you even get to your college. So you're going to have to weigh this and measure it according to the schools you're applying as well as your individual needs. Following the straight A method, I recommend that my students take both the SAT and the ACT. Now let's take a look at the straight A method timeline. Freshman year, focus on your grades, get a high GPA, and just do great in school. That's what you need to be doing your freshman year. Sophomore year, October, the PSAT is optional. Take it if you like. It's neither going to help you nor hurt you. By December of your sophomore year, sign up for a comprehensive test prep program, preferably the straight A program with yours truly. Then start training in January leading up to the March test, or perhaps you can start a little later leading up to the May or June test. So you want to take the SAT at least once in your sophomore year. Some students opt to take it in March and then again in May or June. Either way is fine. Also consider taking one or two SAT-2 subject tests and or AP exams depending on your course schedule in May of your sophomore year. During the summer, you should be building vocabulary and staying intellectually engaged and maybe practicing a little bit for your SAT test that will be coming up in October. But then get a refresher class in August, September leading up to the October SAT test. In October, take the SAT, followed the next week by the PSAT, followed the next week by the ACT. Again, this might seem like a lot, but we want our students to pretty much be done with the college entrance exam process at this point. It provides three distinct advantages. Number one, students who are athletes, colleges who are recruiting are looking for these scores earlier. Number two, it's helping prepare our students for the PSAT, maximizing their opportunity of becoming National Merit Scholars and thereby getting full ride scholarships. And thirdly, by getting the process over with at this point in their junior year, students are able to focus on their studies and enjoy the rest of their junior year leading up to, in May of the junior year, they should look at taking another SAT-2 subject test and or as many AP exams as they're taking classes for. If the students have not met yet their objectives and goals by October of their junior year, when those results come back in the fall and winter, those students ought to consider getting one-on-one training and taking the tests SAT and ACT again in the spring of their junior year. And again, it's never too late. You always have senior year, fall of senior year to fall back on. Those results will always come back before your early action, early admission deadlines of November. That, in a nutshell, is the straight A method timeline, so that your senior year, you should be focusing on your college essays and your applications, and this testing should not be affecting you, right? You should be done with that in your junior year, preferably early junior year. Listen, it would be ideal to take the standardized test once and be done with it. However, every student with the right coaching can continue to improve their scores. With a good test prep program, once again, allow me to recommend the straight A program, you can remove a lot of the stress that comes with taking these high-stake tests. Furthermore, you'll give yourself the best opportunity to achieve the best results, to get into the best university with the best financial aid package possible. The straight A method really is a powerful plan that can be tailored to each individual. For those of you who are watching, who are getting started in the process a little bit later, remember, it's never too late. Jump into the straight A method as soon as possible. to take away all that stress that can come from not knowing, are your test scores good enough to get into the colleges of your choice. If after watching this video you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Email me at testprep@straighta.com, and I'll be happy to help you. God bless you all. I wish you the best success. Cheers.